Welcome back. This is Dr. Divya Bharati, Assistant Professor of Botany, Sri Sharada College for Women, Autonomous, Salem. The topic what we are going to discuss today is the general characters and reproduction of bryophytes. So, to know about bryophytes are a group of non-vascular plants. These occupy a position that is between the algae and the vascular plants. Uh, these are also known as amphibian plants. These includes mosses, liverworts, hornworts, comprising of more than 20,000 species that are distributed all over the world. These plants, you can see them in moist places, and these are typically small and thrive in moist and shady environment. Through some can survive in diverse habitats such as deserts and sometimes in Arctic regions also. Key characteristics of bryophytes are these are called as non-vascular plants, which means these do not have true vascular tissues. So what do we mean by true vascular tissues are the xylem and phloem, which plays a major role in the efficient transport of water and nutrients. Their limit, their size, their environment, where they are growing, and the level of water that is surrounding these plants can be observed directly by the plant body and not by the vascular tissues. These have got such a beautiful development to just intake water and nutrients to survive. Next are the dominant gametophytes, that are the main plant body in bryophytes is called as gametophyte. These are haploid in nature. These live longer and high nutrition. These have got independent life cycle. These produce sex organs such as antheridia and archegonia that are helpful in producing the gametes. Sometimes we can find dependent sporophyte. These sporophytic generation are usually diploid in stage, and these develop from the zygote forming after fertilization. The sporophytic body is typically attached, and the nutrition depends on the gametophyte for water and minerals and sometimes carbohydrates. It has a simpler structure, often consisting of three parts of plant. They are called as foot, that is the base of attachment, seta, the stalk, and the capsule. Next, for attachment, these do not have true roots. These are called as rhizoids. Bryophytes have simple hair-like structure called as rhizoids that anchor the plant to the substrate, and these primarily function in attachment and have limited role in water and nutrient absorption. The thallus or simple leaf. The plant body can be a flattened, undifferentiated structure called as thallus. These, for example, we call them as liverworts and hornworts. For example, we can talk about Markantia, Rixia, and Thasaros. These do not have a complete leaf structure. These are very flattened structures when compared to the other development of these bryophytes. And these may also have a simple leaf-like structure that are arranged around the stem-like axis. For example, mosses, polytrichum. The leaves are typically only one cell layer thick and they lack vascular tissues. So by evolution, when we think about bryophytes, you can find the development from one stage to another. A very big transition cannot be seen in bryophytes. The thalloid structure can be differentiated into a leaf-like structure that are single layer thick. Cuticle and stomata are absent or poorly developed. There are you can never find developments of cuticle These prevent the loss of water, and stomata for gaseous exchange are mostly absent in these plant bodies, as these are completely dependent on the moist environment. As said before, these are amphibian plants. Due to their dependence of water and their moist and shady environment, fertilization takes place in water. That is, the sperm needs to swim towards the egg in the flow of water. These also hold rich amount of water throughout the year, supporting an ecological balance in the nature. Coming to habitat diversity, while most bryophytes prefer moist and shady places, they can be found in wide range of habitat that includes rock, soil, tree trunks, and even in some aquatic environments. They can tolerate desiccation in varying degree, reviving upon the rehydration. So the role of bryophytes, they have got ecological importance. They play an important role in the ecosystem, and these are called as the pioneering species. That is the colonization of the bare rock and conversion to soil that takes place years together for the conversion. But these are the base factors of the ecological importance. Next are the soil binders. These prevent erosion, indicators of environmental condition. If you are in an environment of high air pollution or a differentiated pH, there is an environmental condition where you can find these plants will never grow. And these play a major role as an ecological indicator, and these are providers of habitat and food for smaller invertebrates. And these, as said before or discussed before, we know that mosses hold a rich, spongy nature which holds high amount of water, where sphagnum moss have significant water holding capacity, and these contribute to the peat formation. So we have got a general idea about what are bryophytes, what are the characteristics of bryophytes, how they survive in nature, and what are their necessities and the ecological importance of bryophytes. Next to the reproduction of bryophytes. Bryophytes exhibit a life cycle of alternation of generation. They have got both sexual and asexual reproduction. So asexual reproduction is generally called as vegetative propagation or vegetative reproduction. Bryophytes can reproduce asexually through various methods that do not involve the fusion of gametes. These methods allow for rapid colonization in a local area and produce genetically identical offsprings. So genetically identical offsprings play a major role in surviving in a local environment. There are different types of asexual reproduction. For example, fragmentation. A piece of the gametophyte plant body can be broken off or broken into pieces if they fall on a suitable land with suitable environment. They develop into a new plant, an independent gametophyte. These are simple and common methods of reproduction. Next, gemma formation. So many liverworts and some mosses produce special structures called as gemmae. These gemmae are small protrusions or small multicellular pits that you can find on the plant bases, where these are small multicellular, green-bodied, they are able to develop new gametophyte. They are often produced like cup-like structures called as gemma cup. For example, these are very much visible in plants like Markantia on the surface of the thallus. Usually during the period of rain, what happens is that during the downpour, the water gets filled up in the small pits of gemma, and the gemma is being pushed out of the thallus structure, and these gemma fall on a new environment and they grow into a new plant. So next type of asexual reproduction is protonema fragmentation. In mosses, the protonema, these are small filamentous thread-like structures that develop from the spores. These get fragmented into smaller pieces, each of which can grow into a new protonema and subsequently a new gametophyte. Next is the persistent apical cone. The continuous growth and branching of gametophyte can lead to the separation of older plants, with each separate plant potentially develop into an independent plant. So the continuous growth of this mechanism holds the plant to survive in the ecological condition what they are adapted to. Next is the tubers and bulbils. Some bryophytes produce tubers. Usually the role of tubers and bulbils are storage. These are underground storage organs. These store these nutrients for years together, as this plant can survive any threat condition. For example, these tubers are storage organs, or bulbils are small bud-like structures that are attached to the plant, and once they are detached from the present plant body, it gives rise to a new plant. So hopefully we have got an idea about what asexual reproduction is and how these plants produce and how these plants survive in nature by different types of asexual reproduction. Next, coming to sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction in bryophytes involves the fusion of male and female gametes. So what happens here in sexual reproduction is the genetic recombination, and there is a formation of diploid sporophyte. Gametangia. Sexual reproduction occurs within specialized multicellular sex organs called as gametangia, which produced on the haploid gametophyte. So coming to two types of specialized male and female sex organs, that is the antheridia and archegonia. First, let us look over the male sex organ, antheridia. These are small sac-like or cup-like structures that produce numerous flagellated male gametes called as antherozoids. When the plant matures, the plant holds and develops a male sex organ called as antheridia. These produce gametes called as small flagellated structure antherozoids. These antheridia may be single or group. These are highly protected by the jacket layers, and these are called as paraphyses. This is the general structure of antheridia. Coming to archegonia, female sex organ. These are typically flask-shaped structures. They contain a single female gamete called as egg, or ovum. At the swollen base, it has a long neck. The archegonia contains canals through which these antheridia reaches the egg. Mostly antheridia and archegonia, the fusion takes place as we have discussed before. Water plays a major role. These are water-dependent fertilization where bryophytes require an external film of water for fertilization to occur. When antheridia matures, they release the antherozoids which swim through the water to the archegonia. There is a chemical attraction that guides the antherozoids towards the archegonia. After this attraction of male gametophyte towards the female, the next formation is the formation of zygote. One antherozoid fuses with the egg inside the archegonium and they form diploid zygotes. Sporophyte development. The zygotes remain within the archegonium and undergo mitotic division and develop into multicellular diploid sporophyte. The archegonial wall often enlarges and forms a protective layer called as calyptra, and these covers the developing sporophyte. The sporophyte structure and function. For example, coming to polytrichum or mosses, the matured sporophyte consists of three parts, namely the foot, seta, and capsule. The basal part that is embedded to the gametophyte and absorbs nutrition and water is called as foot. These are the gentle attachment of the plant to the soil. Next is the seta, a stalk that elevates the capsule. It may be short or long depending on the species. Next is the capsule, that is the sporangium, the terminal part of after meiosis division in specialized cells called as spore mother cells. These produce and holds haploid spores. So now we have got an idea about how these plants have developed themselves to get into the next generation. Coming to spore disposal, when the spore matures, the capsule typically opens by various mechanisms to release the spores into the environment. And these dispersal is often facilitated by wind. So the fusion takes place with the help of water and spore dispersal is facilitated by wind. So gametophytic formation, if the spore lands on suitable environment with adequate moisture and light, they germinate and develop into new haploid gametophyte, either directly or through an intermediate filamentous stage called as protonema, as we have discussed before. And this cycle of vegetative reproduction and sexual reproduction continuously gets repeated as these plants play a major role in environment, and these have got several adaptation conditions to survive for several years in creating an positive environment. So some of the key factors that what we can discuss about the sexual reproduction of bryophytes are they are oogamous type, that is sexual reproduction is oogamous. There is a large, the female gametophyte or the egg is one large cell and it is non-motile. Coming to the male, It has got flagella. These are small, and these are motile cells. So one cell is large and another is small, and there are fusion between it, and it's called as gametes. And water plays an essential role, where the sperm has to reach the egg for fertilization, and next stage the fusion of zygote and embryo formation. A multicellular embryo develops. The archegonium and characteristics are shared with all land plants. These are called as embryophytes. And sporophyte dependency. The sporophyte is typically dependent on gametophyte for nutrition. You can find alternation of generation. The life cycle clearly shows alternation between dominant haploid gametophytic generation and dependent diploid sporophytic generation. Understanding the general characters and reproductive strategies of bryophytes highlights their unique position in the plant kingdom, their adaptation to the terrestrial condition, and the continuous reliance on moist environment for crucial life cycle for several events. So when we talk about bryophytes, or how they depend on nature, these play a massive role in creating an environmental condition where without these amphibian species, no life can survive even today on Earth. These are water storage, spongy bodies which release water throughout the years. You can find these plants in most of the hill areas such as Western Ghats, Eastern Ghats, where you can find Himalayan ranges in India, where the climate is very moist, where where there is rainfall, a rich diversity of forest, and unpolluted environment. These bryophytes major role is to protect the environment, create an environment, hold an ecological balance, and to protect nature from the fall. And thank you all for listening. Thank you.